Guys, I need to show you something. This is the S23, S24 and S25. Everyone can see that not a whole lot has changed, and yet I think that this phone is very important and will be very popular, and here's why in my review. Even though very little has changed visually, I like how the S25 looks and feels in the hand. It's very minimalistic and even thinner than last year. The cameras are only 3 subtle dots. They don't stick out a whole lot, it's way more subtle than on every other phone. The S25 is only 7.2mm thin, making it the thinnest high-end smartphone right now. Only the S25 Edge and the iPhone 17 Air will be even thinner, but also a bit larger. With its 6.2-inch display and wafer-thin bezels, the S25 is the smallest high-end smartphone on the market. I think it's very refreshing how small, thin and light this device feels. It's hardly noticeable in your pocket. As usual with Samsung, you get a great display here. It just looks good. It has a Full HD Plus resolution, 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate, and it gets bright in the sun. You can read everything clearly, but the Pixel 9 Pro gets even brighter. The S25 Plus is the same device, but has a 6.7-inch display with a Full HD Plus resolution. Both are unlocked with a fast ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, and the display is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which is super stable, but Gorilla Glass Armor 2 is even more stable and reflects 70% less. Unfortunately, only the S25 Ultra has that glass, and I don't understand why Samsung is skipping it on the regular S25 and S25 Plus. It just makes no sense. But they didn't save on the processor. It is a Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy with 12GB of RAM. It's just a shame that the smallest version only has 128GB of UFS 3.1 storage, and the faster UFS 4.0 storage is only installed from 256GB and above. The performance of the S25 is fantastic. It's fast, it's smooth, there's nothing that can bring it to its knees. My impression, and that of independent benchmarks as well, shows the S25 is currently one of the fastest smartphones. It's also faster than the iPhone 16 Pro, which is way more expensive. Compared to the S24, the S25 is simply 55% faster in Europe. This shows that Samsung's top priority this year is performance and longevity, which is very important, and therefore they're giving even 7 years of Android updates, which is insane. I don't even know how old I am in 7 years and I don't even want to think about it. One UI 7 is a major update that makes the entire software more beautiful, consistent and fluid. I like how timers, music or ordered food shows up in a small pill at the bottom of the lock screen. You can customize the quick settings more freely. You can hide app names. There's a lot of artificial intelligence, and not everything is practical, but I love that you can now search with natural language in settings or photos, and you always get the result you're looking for. Also, the writing assistant helps to correct or rewrite texts everywhere now. Because Google Gemini is everywhere, it can answer all of my questions immediately, and with Circle to Search I can search and find everything I see on screen. There is a now briefing on the lock screen at morning, noon and night, but I think it's not that helpful because there's only the weather and my appointments in there. And last but not least, you can edit and expand pictures with AI, and this works very well. You will get 6 months of Gemini Advanced with this phone, which is great, but what happens when it stops? Well, I think nothing really, because I used the free version of Gemini and it worked perfectly fine as well. Okay, the only thing missing is the battery life and the camera. Let's start with the camera. There are 3 lenses, an ultra-wide angle, the typical smartphone field of view and a 3x tele. So same as last year and the year before that and the year before that. I mean, Samsung, really? Nothing new at all? Okay, then it's just software I guess, and I really like the new camera app. It's great how easy you can reach everything and you can adjust a lot of stuff. The photos taken with the S25 are great to look at. They are good photos, but they are not very different from last year. The results are bright, sharp and vibrant. There's nothing wrong with that. But the competition is moving quickly and Samsung is standing still for years now. So taking pictures with a Pixel 9, Xiaomi 14 or iPhone 16 for example, they are just better. And the ultra-wide angle of the S25 has no autofocus and therefore no macro mode. This is the weakest of the 3 lenses, and when you're filming and taking pictures in low light, there is a lot of noise. I do like the field of view of the 3x tele, and the sharpness is better than you would expect from 10 megapixel, but the 3x camera on OnePlus devices is much better. Selfies are great to look at, skin tones and sharpness is good. The videos are also above average. You can record in a log color profile and in 8K or in 4K with 60 FPS. In summary, these cameras are not outstanding, they are not frightening to the competition whatsoever, but the pictures are decent and I can't really complain. Let's talk battery life. I use this phone like I use every other phone, with adaptive brightness, with the highest refresh rate and resolution possible. I'm using 5G, I'm inside of Wi-Fi, but I'm also using the camera a lot, and I'm switching between light and dark mode. And the battery life actually was great. When going to bed, I had 3.5 to 4.5 hours of screen on time, with about 20 to 30% of battery left, which is about 6 to maybe even 7 hours of screen on time when you're stretching it. That is more than you would expect from a 4000 mAh battery inside of this phone. And it is on par with the iPhone 16 Pro and Pixel 9 Pro, maybe even a little bit better, even though this phone is lighter and slimmer. Charging is relatively slow. I measured about 60% in 30 minutes. At least that is faster than the Pixel or iPhone. G2 is supported, but only with a case you get MagSafe magnets. Conclusion. I could complain a lot about the S25 because it is a bit boring and I'm a tech enthusiast, and I could count countless smartphones with better camera systems that are more exciting to me. But there is a current state in the world. There is inflation happening right now, and this phone is not a cent more expensive than the predecessor. Better even, the price at launch never really was there. In Europe, it has been 900, but it's already 800 and will be soon under 600 like the predecessor. And when you think about that price, this is the best value you can get. Here are 7 years of Android updates and the newest AI features, and everything about this phone is maybe average, sometimes above average, sometimes only slightly below average. But for that price, this is just insane. It's a thin phone, it's a compact phone, and I really liked using it. It is not a high-tech device, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a reliable phone with a good performance and a great longevity for a good price. And sometimes that's worth celebrating.